What's going on, beautiful people? It is I, your flying locomotive and faster than a speeding bullet SuperCliff, coming at you live with a brand new video. And for today's video, we are continuing with Jed MacKay's Moon Knight series. More specifically, Moon Knight issue number 15. But before we get funky with Marvel's luminous crime fighter, if you are new to the channel, then smash that like and subscribe button. That way you guys never miss out on anything that's happening on this lovely and majestic channel. And because we've managed to cross over 1,000 subs, let's raise the bar and go full on Super Saiyan as we try to get 200 more subs before the end of 2022. Thus, without further ado, let's get crazy with Moon Knight issue number 15. Our story begins with some therapy, where Marc's therapist is explaining as to why we don't chat about his personalities. And the reason for it is pretty simple, because of Jason Aaron's Age of Khonshu story. For Dr. Stern's role is to evaluate Marc's level, his progress, and to make sure that Marc doesn't pose a danger. You know, he doesn't try to take over the world again for Khonshu, because that's a big no-no. And we already know about Black Panther ain't about that shit. So yeah, her role is strictly Marc. Strictly about Marc and his issues. Therefore, Marc proceeds to talk about his life. He begins to talk about his most recent progress. Thus, we get ourselves a deep dive into the recent life of Marc Spector and his personalities. A day in the life of Stephen Grant, and the nightlife of Jake Lockley. For Stephen, he's more of a gentleman. He's the type of person who dresses to impress, as we see Stephen getting a haircut and getting a nice shave. Everything that a gentleman requires.
Does the gentleman know the penalty for breaches of etiquette in the Emperor's presence?
I mean, for God's sakes, Steve's barber calls himself an artist. You really can't get more gentleman than that. Now Jake, the guy's a bit more of a scoundrel. The sort of type who drinks first and asks questions after. And you can bet your bottom dollar that this man drinks a whole lot of rum. Now, first things first, when it comes to Stephen Grant, him being a gentleman and hanging out with rich people, Steve uses his talents to acquire information regarding the two assassins from the previous issue. The two who were hired by the vampire leader Tudor, the guy who's running the structure in New York, which is a vampire pyramid scheme, in order to take out Moon Knight, because he's messing up his business. And so Steven's contact, Kurt, is able to acquire the info. Now, the first guy is a killer who goes by the name the Nemean, and he is a Greek assassin, which makes sense given his name, the Nemean Lion. You know, the lion that Hercules had to murder, the lion with unbreakable skin. Greek myths, the more you know. And basically, this guy is a savage. He is a badass. If you have money and you want someone dead, he's your guy. And sure, he'll leave a bloody mess, but he'll get it done nonetheless. And the other one is a woman named Grandma from the western side of Europe. Now, she's been associated with various political assassinations. Her gauntlets are designed to short out her target's nervous system in order to cause seizures. So one can make the case that her way of killing is extremely painful. Meanwhile, we have Jake Lockley talking to Naomi, who's one of his many New York City contacts. And here he's asking her about the vampires, because apparently Naomi's brother has just recently turned into one. And apparently he has to lay low. And it's not just because he's a vampire and he doesn't want to suck people's blood, but when you have someone like Blade running around with a fucking sword, chances are that being a vampire isn't the most ideal of situations. And so eventually, after a bit of small talk and some offering of rum, Naomi provides Jake with the details of her brother Ruben's location. And it turns out that the dude is hiding out in Chinatown. Now, what's weird is that the vampires in the Marvel Universe are quite territorial. They usually don't venture off beyond certain areas. And so Jake, he figures that perhaps the vampires are preparing to make their expansion, full-on takeover. Now, because Jake lives the life of a scoundrel, the life of someone who deals within the underworld, you tend to make enemies by doing so. Therefore, this is where we see one of Jake's enemies, a guy whom Jake likely did dirty to, and he attempts to jump him, sort of as a means of payback. But this is where we learn where Marc Spector fits into all of this, because where you have Stephen Grant, the rich gentleman, Jake Lockley, boots on the ground, scoundrel sort of fella, Marc Spector's role is quite simple. He's the fist. He's the one who kicks ass and takes names. Therefore, we see in this moment Marc removing Jake's fake mustache as he prepares to fight Jake's baddie using his fists. Now, as we switch back to Marc's therapy session, Dr. Stern is proud of Marc's progress and working together with his personalities. And now she's wondering on what everyone else thinks of Marc's reveal to having DID. And overall, it's gone pretty well. I mean, for starters, we all know how loyal Soldier is. We know that he'll do anything for Moon Knight. So it's safe to say that Marc having DID doesn't make much of a difference between the two of them. Nor does it make a difference for Hunter's Moon. In fact, he actually praises it. because Khonshu has always had many faces. However, the only thing that Hunter's Moon doesn't care for is Marc's plan to try to make an alliance with Naomi's vampire brother. For him, this is strictly blasphemy. But we already knew that, Hunter's Moon is a bit racist when it comes to vampires. And so for him, it's a learning process. And last but not least, it's Marc's conversation with Reese. And this right here is the heart of what this issue and really this run is all about. Basically, what we see here is a conversation we've all had with our friends before and at some time or whenever. Whether the reveal is good or bad, whatever the case may be, or, what we see here is Reese being proud for Marc. Because it's not about what you were or how the world views you. What matters is that you are a person. What matters is the fact is that, yes, Marc has DID, but that doesn't change Marc. That doesn't make him a bad person or a scary one. It makes Marc human. More importantly, Marc is a good guy. And yes, we've all made mistakes in the past, but the past doesn't define us, nor do our conditions. What defines us is the now. What defines us is the good character and the willingness to try and to keep improving ourselves for the better. And with that, we see two friends hug it out. But within a minute of doing so, the two end the hugging session awkwardly. Because one, it's hilarious, and two, they both like to make fun of each other. Both are not in tune with their feelings. And that, folks, was the end of Moon Knight issue number 15. And thank you guys for checking out my video, as it truly, truly means the world to me. And I think it's safe to say that the main theme surrounding this issue is therapy. Issue 15 was definitely therapeutic. Because with the return of Marc's personalities, Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant, Marc, he now has to reveal to his crew within the Midnight Mission that he has DID. And I gotta say, though not a lot of action or forwarding the plot happens, this issue really takes its time to continue with expanding its characters, setting up the different personalities and how they interact with everyone, like Marc's therapist, or how Steve and Jake obtain information. Basically, the issue takes what we know about Steve and Jake and puts their mannerisms into play in order to help identify and really separate Moon Knight's personalities. And it's probably doing that as a way to help clear things up because, let's face it, comics are weird. And I think when it comes to Moon Knight, especially to non-comic book readers, getting into a character like Moon Knight who has a very unorthodox mythos, it may present itself to be intimidating. Moon Knight is very complicated, especially when you're first getting into him. But because of McKay's amazing writing and the way in which Capacchio's art is handled, Rochelle Rosenberg's specific color palettes for each of the personalities, all of that really helps. And I'm glad that this creative team are taking the necessary steps towards simplifying this character, or characters. Shut up! Look, y'all get what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, overall, great stuff. And if you're not reading Moon Knight, you should probably seek medical help. JK, just kidding. But maybe get yourself checked out because legit, this series is dope, and it continues that dope trend. So yeah, as always, I'm your majestic say over at SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and so that you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions on this issue? Are you guys excited for issue number 16? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace. Giggity goo.